Hello, everyone. My name is Zach. Welcome to Missouri Live. I know we started a minute late. I was been busy today and not a fun day for your boy. Excuse me. Let me check my audio and start talking about Missouri football. I don't think there's really a reason to go over Saturday's game anymore. But there are things to talk about with more than just the micro of what happened Saturday for Mizzou. There's a lot of every time Mizzou loses, and this happens in every fan base, there are crazies that come out. There are people that want to just they get super reactionary and they want to just be they just want to have a take. People feel like they need to have a take, and that's true in all sports, and it's true. I feel that way sometimes too. Like, oh my gosh, that's what Twitter is for, is to have a take. So I saw this going around Mizzou Twitter and other Mizzou websites and forums and things that people use to get their opinions out about Missouri athletics. And I've seen a few people talk about the hot seat for Eli Drinkwitz. He can't get the program to the next level. He can't do this. He can't do that. He's played in the last 2 years when Mizzou, we thought at least they had a pretty good team. He's played 4 big-time games. I'd argue 5. I'd argue the Tennessee game last year was big time, but they lost to LSU. They lost to Georgia. They did beat Tennessee, and then this year they lost to Texas A&M and they lost to Alabama. And unfortunately, this year in those 2 games, they've gotten smoked. They just haven't looked like they belong on the field with those guys, and that's just not going to make anybody happy. Losing is one thing. Getting smoked is completely a different thing. And so I'm seeing this take a lot. And guys, take a deep breath. He's not going anywhere. And after this season, he's probably not going to be really up for like the Florida job or to elevate and go to a bigger job, and I don't think he'd leave anyway. He's a top 10 paid coach in the country. He's getting everything he wants in NIL. He got the stadium renovations at Faroe. He's not going anywhere. Recruiting's at a level that we've never been, but that Missouri, recruiting at a level we've never seen means recruiting at a top 20 basis. That's not going to win you a national championship. I know there's that blue chip ratio running around. Mizzou probably will never hit that. But Eli has done a really good job here. Say they do finish 9-3. That's 20-5 over 2 seasons. You know, you look at some of the best 2-year runs in my lifetime. You have 2013 and 2014, where they went 23-5. You have 2007 and 2008, where they went 22-6. They just didn't have an opportunity to play for the SEC championship. Let's say they do play for an SEC championship last year and they lose. Like, the University of Missouri is in no place to fire a coach that potentially gets 20 wins in 2 seasons. Next year is going to be a little bit of a reset, and we'll go more into next year because there's still a lot to play for. Still great. 10-win seasons is still great. 9-win seasons, we've only had a handful in Mizzou history. There's still a lot to play for as the season goes on. As David said here, it's going to still be a good year. Theoretically, you can still win 10 games in back-to-back years. Pinkel did it twice. Yeah, you can still win 10 games. And I understand that one of the issues now with the expanded playoff is these kinds of seasons that Missouri could still have just aren't going to be celebrated as much. And that was one of my issues with the playoff is, like take a look at like Iowa State and what they're doing this year. Iowa State's having an awesome season. Iowa State has never won 10 football games in a regular season. They could do that, go 10-2, not make the playoff, if people will consider that a disappointment. Jackson pops in. What's up, Jackson? Hope everything's going well with Bama. I mean, Saturday went really well for Bama. Boy, our preview stunk, didn't it? Our predictions, not our preview. Preview was really good. Go take a watch it if you want to hear three guys just be completely wrong about that game. But Mizzou, like the 9-win seasons and 10-win seasons at Mizzou should be celebrated. And the unfortunate thing now with this playoff and the expectations of this team are down the road, it's not going to be celebrated. If they do manage to win 9 games, which with this defense is still completely on the table. I know what happened Saturday. Things got a little out of hand, obviously. But Mizzou defensively, I thought, played a pretty good football game. Eli's not on any kind of hot seat. I don't really think Kirby Moore's on any kind of hot seat. Corey Batoon's obviously not going anywhere. So I think you'll see the same staff back. Recruiting is going really well for 2024. We did really well for 2024. 2025 is still, I think there's still a couple balls in the air. Waiting on see if Lamont Rogers flips. And I think that's really about it. Like there's some running backs I know they're going after because they want a second running back. But other than that, recruiting's going great. They have a really good class coming in next year. We'll see what they do in the portal, but there's a decent chance it's a step back. Next year, take all the SEC games they played this year and just flip them. Now you get Texas A&M at home, you get Alabama at home, you get South Carolina at home, and you'll get Mississippi State at home. You got to go to have a good year. You got to win your 4 non-cons. That includes Kansas. You go 2-2 against those teams. Now you're in a bowl. Can you beat Vandy or Auburn? Can you get to 7 and 8 wins? OU on the road, Arkansas on the road. There's opportunity next year to have a really nice season because next year really does kind of feel like it's going to be a retool year or rebuild year. At Mizzou, you do rebuild. I know we're moving on. We're gonna move on to. And there's plenty of time to talk about this, and I hate talking about this kind of stuff, but I just saw so many reactionary stuff from this week we have a bye Saturday, so there's no game to really break down. So I feel like this is a good time to kind of just talk about 2025 and beyond for Missouri football. 2025 does feel like a bit of a rebuild year. At Mizzou, you rebuild. You don't retool. This isn't Bama. This isn't LSU. This isn't Texas, theoretically Texas. There's going to be down years and there's going to be good years. What separates good programs and middle of the pack programs is your down years are not 5 wins. They're 7 wins, 8 wins. Can Mizzou get there next year? I think they can. I mean, they have 4 non-cons. Kansas is the big one. They play a couple of Louisiana's a tough non-conference foe. But it's fine. They should go 4-0 because Kansas stinks. You get Vanderbilt on the road. Vanderbilt's going to be losing Diego Pavia, but we'll see where they are. You got to go to OU. You got to go to Auburn. You get Arkansas. Can you go 4-4, 3-5 in SEC play and get to 7 wins in a bowl? I think it's very on the table. And then we need to have a talk about Kirby Moore. Yeah, we'll get to Kirby Moore. I just want to talk about where the program's at and where it's moving. And this is all stemming from an Eli Drinkwitz hot seat, not trend. Not a lot of people are trending, but I saw it on Mizzou forums. I saw it on Twitter. I don't think if you guys, this next year is going to be tough. This is how you're going to react to a loss. And Saturday was embarrassing. I was more embarrassed by Texas A&M. Thank goodness we didn't have this show for Texas A&M. That one was infuriating to watch. That Saturday was just kind of a whimper, like, yeah, backup quarterback at Alabama, okay. And Texas A&M's a really good football team. We saw that on Saturday. But when they just dismantled LSU despite completing like 8 passes, the future of Mizzou football is bright, guys, with Eli at the helm. Recruiting's going well. They got a 5-star quarterback coming in. To me, if you can have another good year next year with whoever's quarterback, and guys, they're going to dip into the portal. They just are. They're like Drew Pine's probably not the answer. God, I hope he's not the answer. Sam Horn hasn't played a meaningful snap of football in 3 years, and he will be coming off basically Tommy John. Matt Zollers has a broken ankle basically, and he will be healthy for next year, but so you're probably looking at a guy to come in and start for a year, maybe 2, and there's going to be a list of names. There's going to be a list of guys that are really compelling. They're going to lose Burden. They're going to lose Weiss. The offense wasn't great with them this year, so we'll get on that with Kirby more. I don't know. It's gonna be a step back year on paper, and it's gonna be up to Eli and this coaching staff to bring them out of it. Can they? We'll see. Even in the last 3 years, there's been bright moments, but now it's Eli's guys. Like next year, there's no excuse to go like 4-8, 5-7. If you go 4-8 or 5-7 next year, he's probably not going to get let go because of his huge contract. But then there's going to start being whispers, and 2026 better be a good year. 2025 recruiting's basically locked up. I understand people being super disappointed, but just finishing up with Eli. There's nothing to really go, like, there's no reason to believe he's not the right guy for this job. Because the fact that Mizzou fans have to face is Mizzou football can be a really good football program. We saw it under Gary Pinkel. We see it now where they're going to go. They could still, if they go 9-3 and you're disappointed, that's a good football program. But unless Mizzou recruiting, like Eli's done a great job of getting Mizzou recruiting from like mid-40s to the low teens. Like that is God's work. And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff in Columbia that's gotten that done. But to win a national championship, to get to that level, you need to go from the teens to probably up another 7 to 8 spots. That's just what it is. To win a national title, you need to be perennially in the top 12 to 10 of recruiting, and that involves getting a lot of big time pieces, not just recruiting recruiting a bunch of 3 and 4 stars and just having a class of 30 guys. They need to go up a little bit. That's for a national championship. And if Mizzou ever gets to a point where they're seriously competing for a national championship in this 12-team era, Eli's going to coach here as long as he wants. Mizzou's had a couple close calls. 2007, they were half away from a national championship. But when teams like that happen, they run into teams that just are bigger and better. In OU and then Auburn. So it's difficult, man. But if that's the goal for Mizzou football, I think you're setting your goals a little unrealistic. I think the goals for Mizzou football are, if your goal should not be a national championship at this juncture. I'm not saying you can't be like, okay, how can we get there? Because you should be, and I certainly am. I wouldn't be doing this if I was like, 8 wins, that's fine. But right now, your goals for Mizzou football should be involved being competitive in these big games like they were last year, and winning 8 games a year, if not more, when the schedule sets up right. the peak of what I always think of like mid-tier program that found a coach, found a scheme, and executed was like 06 to 20, probably what? When did they lose to Justin Fields? 19? Wisconsin. If you look back from like Bielema to like right before COVID, before Graham Mertz, sorry if there are any Florida fans watching this, Wisconsin was perennially a 10-win program. They never won a national championship. They came close a couple times. They always ran into like Ohio State or Michigan or somebody that was bigger, better, and faster, and more talented. And Wisconsin was never able to take that next step. Mizzou certainly can, but the goal right now has to be to get to that level where you're consistently winning 8, 9, 10 games a year. This year is a good start. Last year was a good start. This year could be a good extension of that. And next year you can't fall off the face of the earth if you want to compete seriously for national titles. And it's hard to predict next year because I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I think someone mentioned it. Hit the portal, see what redshirts, see what Horn has, Crutchfield. Yeah, they have Josh Manning in that group. They have talent out wide. It's just it's not proven talent. And until it's proven talent, you can't say anything more than hypothetical. I like our young backs. Yeah, I like Lacey and Roberts, and Jones really hasn't gotten a chance, but he's done everything the school has. So that's kind of just where I'm at with Eli, and then where I'm at moving forward with Mizzou football. And just kind of a reset of expectations for what I think the program is in 2024. Now, hopefully in 2030, things change. Clemson, like the biggest example of this is Clemson. Clemson hired a random wide receivers coach, struggled, played some really good football under Taj Boyd, just wasn't quite able to hit that next level. They get Deshaun Watson on the field, and they become contenders. That's the best example I can think of a program that went from pretty good, like Clemson was a pretty good football program, to powerhouse. And it's a different era. Things are going to move a little bit differently. But there is a pathway to becoming a powerhouse. Unfortunately, outside of maybe like 16 teams, there's every other team in the Power Four trying to reach that level. Eli could be like Kirk Ferentz, not win 9 games, 10 games, disappointing. The divisions are gone. Yeah. So we can talk about the SEC, and then I want to move on to talking about Kirby Moore. Mizzou, this year's kind of feel like a lost opportunity just because of the schedule. And this is true for a handful of programs, and that includes like Iowa in the Big Ten and Wisconsin in the Big Ten. Like there are good football programs. Iowa's a good football program. In the SEC, I'm thinking of like Ole Miss or something. But for Missouri to make an SEC championship game, I can almost guarantee that every year, as long as this format is happening, one of Bama, Georgia, Texas A&M, LSU, and you could probably throw a couple other teams in there, maybe Oklahoma, but I got to say, but one of those 5 teams that are operating at full capacity and have all the NIL war chest, one of those 5 is going to be in the SEC championship. Pretty much always. So for Mizzou to make an SEC championship, or even like an Ole Miss or Auburn, you're going to have to be better than those 5. And then you're also going to have to be better than 4 of those teams. And then you're also going to have to be better than Florida, Tennessee, Auburn, Oklahoma. Arkansas could have a good year. Like Arkansas, Mizzou, South Carolina, like these like middle tier SEC programs probably never going to play for an SEC championship. And I know that sounds super dour. And now in the 12-team playoff, like you have a chance to make the playoff. But again, this isn't to come off as, oh, Mizzou's screwed. We're not. The growth Mizzou football has gone through in the last 5 years since Barry Odom left has been incredible as a fan to see. Who's to see where we're at 5 years from now? In 2010, you would not have convinced me that Clemson football would go on to play for 3 national titles. 4 national titles. In 2000, Oregon built. Now Oregon had the money of the church with Phil Knight, so that's probably not a good example. But teams can come out of it, and with the growth I've seen from Mizzou football, there is a lot of reason for optimism, despite in your two big games in 2024, you just got pummeled. And God bless Brady Cook, but maybe it is involving that an NFL high-level quarterback comes in. So, and Dave Ruth, we need to have a Kirby Moore discussion in terms of scheming, what happened in the concepts they ran last year. So the offense, a lot of people were high on the Mizzou offense. I thought every opportunity to be a top 10 unit. Now, maybe not in points scored because they don't really go that fast tempo-wise, but in terms of efficiency, they could be a top 10 unit in the country. And it just hasn't happened. There's a lot of reasons for that, but it just has not happened. I watch football. I know what I'm looking at, but I do not have all 22. So from watching a game and watching it back, and I have not watched the Bama game back, there's just no point. I'm not going to learn anything that crazy. What I see watching a game is there seems to be a lot when on passing downs, there seems to be a lot of congestion. The spacing from the wide receivers isn't there. 2, every team in America complains, every fan base in America complains about this. Oh, why don't we throw over the middle more? But Mizzou, I think there is a problem because you do have guys like Theo Weiss, Luther Burden, Josh Manning has shown an ability. Mookie Cooper has the ability to take a ball on a crossing route and go. And you're just not seeing those crossing routes or those mesh routes really at all. It feels like it's a lot of deep shots and a lot of screens. Now, I thought Norfleet, when Cook was in, had a couple nice moments over the middle. And I think Freddie Freeman just went deep again. Holy cow. I think Norfleet has the opportunity to be a really good football player. But you just didn't see him, and he was hurt. So you just didn't see him a ton early in the season. But what I think the other issue is, I think Nate Noel has played some really good football. I think Marcus Carroll has had his moments. I think Jamal Roberts does a really nice job in pass pro, and that's just not me. That's Eli. That's why he plays. He wouldn't play if he wasn't really good at it. They just don't run the ball effectively as well as they did last year. They miss Cody Schrader more than I think any of us thought he would miss. And I didn't think Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll would replace Cody Schrader. I thought they'd do okay in aggregate. I also don't think they run the ball enough. Last year, a lot of it was set up off Cody Schrader just tearing teams up. I mean, there were games Cook didn't have that impressive of stat lines. And at Kentucky, nobody really had an impressive stat line. That game was weird. But Tennessee, you look at Cook's numbers, you're like, oh, okay, but Schrader went for 300 total yards. Arkansas, Schrader went for a crazy amount of yards, and then that game got out of hand. I think the run game misses Cody Schrader, and Brady Cook misses Cody Schrader, and they just have not been able to keep that run game to where it was last year. Is part of that on the low line? Of course. Of course it is. It absolutely has to help on the O-line. And while I always joke in the NFL, I'm like, I don't think running back, obviously you can't have a bad running back, but don't pay running backs. And some of it's a bit, some of it's based in reality. But in college, the difference between you having an NFL back and a non-NFL back is huge. I mean, 2020, the Mizzou offense was pretty miserable. Even Larry Roundtree didn't have great numbers, but Larry Roundtree was an NFL caliber running back. He got, I know it was only a cup of coffee, but he did play in the NFL. Tyler Beatty, again, 2021, Mizzou was horrible on offense, but Tyler Beatty was an NFL back, and he went for 200 yards a bunch of times, and Mizzou won some football games. Cody Schrader, he was undrafted. I know he's on practice squads, but he's getting looks in the NFL. I don't think either of the guys they have right now are going to get looks in the NFL. And they'll both be gone. And gets part. And Nate Noel's had his moments. I thought he's had some pretty good games. But the run game, I think the biggest reason the run game just isn't what it was last year. Now, whether that's scheming, because they love that stretch zone play. Eli loves that play. Kirby Moore, I hope, probably had to have loved it just to even get the job. But the offense just isn't. It's just not what it was last year. And I think there's a lot of congestion. I think there's a lot of missing. And part of it is, and I know you can't, talk bad about him anymore, but Cook missed a lot of throws, man. Like he just did. There was, even against the bad teams, he missed throws deep down the field. And if teams don't think you can hit those throws, and Mizzou hadn't showed no proclivity of being able to, it becomes a lot easier to defend. It just does. So I think it's a mix of all the above. Again, like Saturday, I was just kind of despondent, but you can have optimism, and I do have optimism for Kirby Moore, because it's not Josh Henson where everyone's like, really? Like when he got hired, I remember everybody like, ugh. There's a lot of people who think he's really, really smart at what he does, and I need to get that pillow out of the window. It's where sun will shine. I think they'll have a bounce back next year, but the offense this year is just awful. It's Bidet, not Beatty. Told the Broncos media, what? Tyler, we went because he played in 2018, so 18, 19, 20, 21. So 4 years of Mizzou football, and then 2 years in the NFL before 6 years. When I was a student, and look, my name's out there. Like you guys can look me up. I went to Western Illinois University. We'll finish this with a fun anecdote. I went to Western Illinois University. I did PA for basketball. Super fun. I wasn't great at it, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And we had this girl. Her name was Olivia, Braun. So the guy that did PA before me, like my people that worked in athletics, Olivia Braun, like Brain Braun. So, forever as Olivia Braun. And she played at Western for 4 years. And then like halfway through her senior year, her mom comes up to, I think it was me and my boss, and was like, it's actually Brown. And I looked at my boss like, she's been here for 4 years. Like, so that's not the first time I've ever seen that happen, but that's hilarious. Thanks for letting me know that. That's just, sometimes, man, you just want to be like, all right, come on. But yeah, I think Kirby will have an okay bounce back year. I think some things are going to take a step back. Oh, that's not what I wanted to hit. Step backs happen. I think there's a myriad of circumstances to this. But maybe next year, like, we'll see. I think maybe something next year without the pressure on. And is there a little bit of they have to try and force field Luther? Last year when Luther got the ball, it felt so natural. And this year, it just doesn't. See my other cat crawling around. The one made an appearance. And then the other one decides not to make an appearance. So we're here at the Voice of College Football. This is Missouri Live. Thank you to Mark Rogers at the Voice of College Football. That's our account. We have a Voice of College Football account. Follow us. We have a lot of people like and subscribe. I know I can just get on here and rant, and I forget about to do all the stuff that that's why I like to do in radio. But Kitty, you want to say hi? Yeah, that's what I thought. You little brat. We're going upwards, guys, and there's a lot of new channels coming in. We've got a lot of great people working behind the scenes to make this what it is. We have the college football show with Mark Rogers, post-game Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. There's just a lot of great things happening for our program here. I get some funny things, man, on my phone. Yeah, I had to go back to and in all offseason we talked about how many weapons Mizzou had, and it just doesn't feel like even last year. Last year they knew Luther Burden was getting the ball, and it still felt like they were able to. Now Luther slowed down as the year went on, and part of that was an ankle injury. But against Florida knew he was getting the ball, and he was still able to do kind of whatever he wanted. At points as I keep mishitting things. Yeah, please subscribe, like the video. We have a lot of great stuff coming out. Use the Amazon link in the description section. Check out all of our merchandise. Yep, the college football show with Mark Rogers, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. And then obviously, and I check out, you can find his book. Mark wrote a book, Disputed National Champions College Football, Historical 1990s Reset. Dives deep into the chaotic world of college football championship decisions during the 1990s. Before we got to the BCS, before we had the playoff, it was, as Peter Griffin would say, it was a simpler time. It was a better time. Just this pivotal decade reshaped the sport in unprecedented ways, leaving fans and experts alike questioning the system and legitimacy of the crowned champions. Disputed National Champions also takes the outcomes of the decade and projects those results into the BCS and various playoff models of the future. Now, Mizzou stunk in the 90s, but there's a lot of great stuff in there, and I've given it a read. I highly, highly recommend that you guys give it a read, and you can find it on Amazon and The Voice of College Football. Hey, Mizzou basketball starts next week as well during Mizzou Live. Yes, actually, I was going to bring that up. So next week, Mizzou fans, obviously we're going to do Missouri Live. We're going to come off a bye week. We're going to preview the OU game, which is a night game, which I'm super excited about. But also, Mizzou plays Memphis in basketball. It's the first basketball game of the year at 7 o'clock. Mizzou basketball got some great news today with the commitment of 4-star Nick Randall. He does a lot of really nice things. He's really good out of the high post, but this isn't a basketball talk, although I can't wait for basketball. But we will be – so I'll go live at 7, right around tip-off, and we will stay on the entire game, the 2.5 hours, whatever it is. We will watch that game together. We will talk about Mizzou football. We can talk about what we've already discussed about. We can talk about future games. We can talk about the schedule. We can talk about anything. We're going to break down OU, and then as the game gets going, we'll really break it down to talk about whatever. I'm super excited for it. It's going to be a really fun opportunity. It's going to be a long night, but it's going to be fun. And I can't wait for college basketball. College football will always be number one. I've kind of become a huge college basketball guy just through a bunch of different things. But, yeah, so – but the lines but going back to football, the lines are starting to come out this week. There's some big games this week. Penn State, Ohio State being namely the big one. Every year, every other week, it feels like people talk about, oh, this is kind of an off week for college football. And that's never true. It's just never true. There's always a good games. There's always things that can happen. You just have to know where to look. You know what I mean? Like Penn State, Ohio State, obviously the big one. But Ole Miss, Arkansas, like Ole Miss is playing for their lives. The last couple times they've gone to Fayetteville, I think, or the last time they went to Fayetteville, they got rocked out of the building. Manny Diaz goes back to Miami area where he got fired. Minnesota's playing some really good football right now, and they go to Illinois. And Illinois obviously is a good team, but they're battling back from last week's. They just got manhandled by Oregon. Oregon goes to the Big House for the first time since Dennis Dixon. Michigan's not very good. That was a nice win over Michigan State. You got Indiana with test number 2 at Michigan State without Curtis Rourke. Not to just kind of go through every single football game, but Arizona UCF in the battle of who is the most disappointing Big 12 team this year. Arizona State can get to bowl eligibility. A&M comes off a big win against LSU and has to go to Columbia, South Carolina to play an awesome defensive line. Okay. Wisconsin, Iowa for bowl eligibility. That's always an interesting game. Pitt goes to SMU for the third place SEC or ACC game. No late kicks this week because of the World Series, I guess. But the World Series could pretty much end tonight. So it's never a bad week of college football. But the lines are out. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, take a look at this.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.
Do what the man said. Got more comments here. Game day could have went to SMU. Yeah, but I don't blame them for going to Penn State, Ohio State. If Aller plays, that place is going to be crazy. Did they cut up a highlight? Oh, no. Okay. I was like, is this the Pine pick? Jax, did you cut these up? This is where the game changed That's where the game changed last week, by the way. I'll play it again because this guy cannot be the quarterback next year. I can't. Can I pause it? No. The throw is there up the seam, and not to keep replaying it, but this is cool. I wish I knew you could do this. If he maybe throws it to the sideline, the sideline or a more of a slot fade kind of route, it was there, but oh my God, he just throws it to Malachi Moore. Yeah, I had to relive that. Hey, man, I was at the Missouri-Georgia game in 2014 when Georgia won 34-0 and Mock threw 4 picks. And we've lived through some. I watched Purdue, Missouri when Purdue came into Columbia and won 35-3. I've seen some things, man. Like Mizzou football and basketball can't hurt me anymore. I can get frustrated, but they can't hurt me anymore. Unfortunately. As I sit here in haunting silence. And Mizzou basketball, we'll talk Mizzou basketball next week as they're playing, just because it's going to have to happen. But no, super excited about that. So the rest of this year, we have a bye week, so no show Saturday. We'll be back next Monday, 7 o'clock for Mizzou, Memphis basketball, and a breakdown Oklahoma. But for the rest of this year, the goal has to be to find a way to get to 9 wins. Now, 10 would be outstanding. But 9, like you get OU at home. OU's reeling. They get Maine this week, so they get a week off after playing Texas and Ole Miss. And South Carolina. OU's reeling. At South Carolina is going to be brutal, but Drink just finds a way to beat them, even in like 2022 when South Carolina's pretty good. If you can find a way to win both of those, you go to Mississippi State, who isn't good at all, but they're playing a lot better football than they're getting credit for ever since that Florida game. And then you play Arkansas, who wants to kill you. They do, because of what you've done to them now for a decade. And Taylor Green can lose you games, but he can also win you games. So just because the schedule looks lighter, 9 wins isn't guaranteed. Heck, another win isn't guaranteed. Now, 6-6 with this schedule, yeah, we probably need to start talking about some people losing their jobs. I don't think it's going to happen. The update with Brady Cook is you're probably not going to hear a dang thing until they have to tell you. That's just how college football works. They're probably just not going to. They're just not going to tell you. So don't expect any news. 8-year-old me watching the Fleet kicker a year after Gretzky. Oh my God, dude, come on. At least he had the summer of 70, even though the Cardinals stunk. I'm 28, so I was a little young for that. But nah, man, and we'll do this next week too with Mizzou Memphis. We'll go back through and we'll talk about some Mizzou memories and we'll have some fun. Next week we'll break down OU for a little while. Obviously, we have to. It's a huge football game. And then we could kick back. We're gonna talk about some Mizzou memories. We're just gonna have a nice time. Bring your friends, bring family if you're a Mizzou fan. If you know some Mizzou fans, this is just gonna be a nice time to relax, watch the game, hang out with some friends. It's gonna be think of it as like a Twitch stream, except you're gonna watch Mizzou basketball with me instead of, and hopefully I'm entertaining enough instead of watching people play video games, which I've never understood. All the power to you if you do enjoy it, but I do not understand people that do that. So, I was there for that one too. So when I was in high school in 2012, 13, and 14, I'll tell this story now before I got to hop off. Mizzou football hosted camps. You see them all over the country. And if you went to these camps, you got 3 tickets to every home football game. Now, the 3 years were my sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, which is 2012, 2013, 2014. Good time to go to games. First year in the SEC, third SEC East, SEC East. So you got 3 free tickets, and there were good seats. They were like 12 to 15 rows up at like the 25-yard line, right next to the student section. Like the students would be it'd be right next to the band, where the band used to be. It was a cool spot. And I got to go to a lot of games. Oh yeah, man, I remember that Indiana game. Their backup D'Angelo Roberts scored with 20 seconds left. Man, if they had just won that game, that's 11-1 Mizzou. And, God, I know they still got killed by Georgia, so it didn't matter. But man, Mizzou just every time, man, they just punch themselves in the face. Just Mizzou basketball does it. Mizzou football does it. It just can't. It's a university that can't get out of their own way. And when they get out of their own way, they're going to become a powerhouse. And you're going to hear it from here first. When they find when the Missouri Tigers finally can get out of their own way, look out, world, because we're coming. Anyway, thank you guys for being here so much. This was a fun stream. We didn't have to break down a game. We just kind of got to sit here and talk about next week, what the next couple years are going to bring. Again, next week, 7 o'clock, same time, same place. Maybe. Actually, we might be on the Missouri channel next week. I'm actually going to get to a meeting with Mark here in a little bit. Talk about maybe opening that up. So hopefully we can go there. And that'll be the first video on that channel is the Mizzou basketball watch along, which is going to be super fun. I'm so excited for that. But thank you guys all for tuning in. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for questioning. You guys have a great night. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Halloween. Stay safe. If you have kids, don't steal too much of their candy. And MIZ, guys, it's going to be okay. It's just time for a little readjustment of expectations, which, come on, we're Missouri fans. We've been doing that our entire lives.